Well, hello there, guys, and welcome to War in the West. We're actually going to be playing Breakout 1944, so essentially the liberation of France. The goal, of course, is to take more territory than the Germans, well, really more victory points than the Germans, and clearly Paris, France is going to be at the very top of our list. Now, I want to mention here that we need to go ahead and get the air assault phase going, and I've actually had quite a bit of time to research this. We really just have to be extremely cautious. We have to treat this like, an actual Air Force, and we can't just throw these guys willy-nilly left and right into danger. We need to keep things fairly realistic. And considering we are, of course, over the French coast, I'm thinking the two things which are going to be unbelievably important for us to take out, guys, are going to be rail yards and potentially fuel sites. So essentially stopping the enemy, denying their ability to deliver goods. So we're going to put that rail yard on medium importance over here, which means that certainly our planes will go out searching for these targets. I'm going to do the same thing for strategic air at night, hitting those rail yards. The other thing is that we're coming in on the Normandy coast here, and I believe that ports could be targets of opportunity. Obviously, the enemy's going to be getting supplies from some of these ports, so we're simply going to put that as a low target, or that is to say, it will not be the main target we're aiming for, but certainly something we want to look at. Let me see over here. A few other things we could switch around is actually go to the daily targets and sort of mess around with it a little bit. Let me just drop this over here. There we go. All right, so once again, daily targets. I'm just lowering this ground attack north and ground attack south to medium. Again, we're trying to save as many units as we can. And this ground attack type is going to focus on units. Really don't necessarily want to do that. The only reason we're going to allow it is because this is the beginning or the start of our invasion of France. So I'm going to allow it just a little bit, but really I want our main focus to be railways here. And ground attack north, ground attack south. Again, keeping things fairly simple. And over here with this group, we will also go for railways and interdictions. So essentially we're looking for potentially enemy flight plans, things of that nature. Let's just see what we find. Now, with that, I'm going to go ahead and just set our air directives. And we could certainly mess around even more over here, but I think this is pretty decent. At least I'm hoping so. I'll certainly be here to eat my words if it doesn't work out. So we will execute these air directives. Again, we're not doing any high priority targets because that leads to a lot of planes going down. The same could be true here. We're about to find out. So actually, the differences are pretty even there. If you see in the lower right-hand corner, very even between us and the Germans. In fact, they have more losses than we do. So we are improving our air phase, which I'm very happy about. It just requires watching a few videos before you understand it. But yeah, basically we don't want to do any high priority targets if we can help it. And you can see all of these planes bombarding the enemy lines right behind our own. Or actually right behind the enemy lines. We're hitting as much logistics, rail yards, etc. as we can to make them delivering goods here almost impossible. Welcome aboard, folks. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Don't forget to hit that like button. As you can see there, that air phase is almost even between us and the Germans. Almost up to 300 losses, but with the enemy at 250, I would say this is worth it, though we could be a little less aggressive even now. Even now, we kind of pushed it in an effort to hit as many rail yards as possible. Oh, Matt, I mean, the only answer for that question, Matt is asking about how to remember to keep your HQ units in the right spots. The only way to do that is you just have to be aware, man. Like, at the end of every turn, check those HQs. You know, I've had situations where I thought they were in range, and then suddenly, next turn, I'm like, wait a minute, why are these units red? So that can certainly happen. And you guys can see over here the actual targets of our bombardment. I'm just focusing on a small part of the map. But I want to show you guys kind of what I was planning. And essentially, those bombers were going down the rail lines, hitting all of these locations. And we're just trying to, basically lower the amount of supplies coming in for the enemy over here. The more we can do that, obviously, the tougher it's going to be for the enemy. So first things first, obviously, we've got to get off the Normandy coast. I'm going to go ahead and direct these guys to attack this unit right here. Looks like a Fallschirmjäger division might come to their defense, but obviously our main goal is Paris, and really, even if we get to Paris, we could absolutely lose this campaign, because you can see there's all of this territory over here. In fact, there is a secondary line of forts here past Paris that really allows us to move towards Germany. And if we don't make it there in 11 turns, and obviously in this game 11 turns could take hours, then we simply don't win. We lose. So I'm going to push forward over here as well. And let me actually get some of these units in the way too. So we're going to be surrounding this SS Armor Division, and I think we can actually probably wipe them out with one group here. Of course, this is thousands of men. In fact, about 50 or 60,000 men. I'll try to bring these guys along, but they have already attacked, so let's simply go for a consecutive attack. And actually, they held. We did manage to kill 2,349 of the enemy, 65 tanks here. So they definitely took a nasty hit, but they actually did hold under Vlon Choltitz. That's okay. Go for a second attack, and since we have infantry units here, we probably can go for a second attack. Simply do that. Pretty sure we can break through. If not, we'll break through with another unit, but I was expecting us to be able to jump right through there. So let's grab these two units. We're going to keep one of them right... nope. There we go. 2 infantry units. And go for an attack here. Damn it! Keep selecting the other ones. Maybe if... No! Oh, no! All right, here's what we're going to have to do. We'll just take all 3. Here we go. And sure enough, we've got the SS retreating there. 6th Fallschirmjäger, 17th SS Panzergrenadier, and 2nd SS Panzer Division. So they are running in terror, of course, and we want to try and take advantage of these positions. Anytime we force one of the enemies to fall back, we want to try and make them really pay for it. Over here, we're going to take all these guys, going straight for the enemy armored unit right there. And I am amazed they held on there. We definitely should have been able to break through. Absolutely amazed that they held on. Let's look over here instead and keep our focus on the units here. And actually, I'm going to grab all of these with the goal of busting through here. But it looks like not every single one of these Canadian infantry divisions is going to be attacking. Let me just make sure. Yeah, we might want to wait a little bit there. What I will do is start sending units over here in this zone to attack this unit. Let's go for it. And we're going to continue our attacks here on the left-hand side. We've got to try to break through. And I'm sure with consecutive attacks here, they are going to be forced to retreat. There we go. And we can sort of break out this way to the southwest, or to the northwest, I should say, of Italy, France here. Shame on me. My mind is in another theater. See if we have any additional infantry units here. We do. So we're going to rush through with any units that still have a few points left to spend. And I think that's going to be it for now, although you always want to check. And as you can see, we've got some infantry units here that can be used. So I'm going for the weaker units over here, kind of trying to break the enemy's line apart. And if we could fit a tank or really any unit through there, that's going to be extremely good for us. I mean, you can see these contacts are going very, very well. The enemy losing 401. We're only losing 46 men. We definitely have the advantage here on the beach, guys. And there we go. Another attack there, this time against German paratroopers, and just look at that. So, of course, on D-Day, the Germans also sent in some paratroopers to stop our own, to put up some sort of defense, and obviously, time was of the essence, so they were trying to get troops to the Normandy beaches as soon as possible. And look at that, 1,884 lost. Just an excellent result for our men. So we want to keep that up and really just keep the momentum strong. I'm sure you guys have seen enough War in the West to know that if you aren't fast with the momentum, it's very easy to just get stuck, to essentially not be able to move from your position. And we don't want that happening. So right now what I'm doing is just getting these guys sort of repositioned. Want to make sure those HQs are in range, kind of how Matt mentioned. And then just keep on moving. So let's see. We also have 2 tanks here. And see, we can use these tanks to exploit existing areas. So we're creating a bit of a bulge right there. And what I'm going to do is just take this tank by itself, or this group by itself, and attack. Manage to rout one infantry unit, of course. And I can also attack separately with the other group here. But I think what I'm going to do instead is move him forward a bit. This is risky for sure. And actually, if I had some more movement points, I would just move out here and completely cut the enemy off. Obviously, in this game, if you can cut off enemy supplies, you know, they're not going to be getting any ammo, food, etc., and they're going to fall apart. Thank you, Salty Dodger. This is really a tremendous game. Definitely is. And there we go. Beautiful attack there. Pretty much just a probing attack, but it did force the enemy to flee in terror. And I'm just seeing if we have anybody with enough movement points to grab that spot. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have a chance. However, I'm not going to stop my attack, especially when there are opportunities here, like right there. I want to at least test the waters, although it definitely looks like that the Western group here is a lot stronger, a lot more prepared for this fight than these guys in the East. Now, let me just take a look over here. We should have some paratroopers. We do indeed. Might have to wait a turn or two before they're ready to jump. Yeah, they're definitely not ready to jump yet, but we do have paratroopers. I just know that's an element of this particular invasion. And I think we'll end it there. All right, turning it over to the Axis. Let's see how they respond to this initial push. This is actually, believe it or not, one of the shorter campaigns in the game. It still is ridiculously long. This would probably still take several hours to complete. But this is definitely one of those campaigns in game that you could probably get through on your own. All right, so right there, guys, I'm just pausing so you guys can see 595 of the enemy killed there. They have 67,000 men with this group, but of course, it's a collection of all four here. So that must be 67,000 men just in the highlighted units you see. And of course, losing 595, we lost 25 tanks, which is quite a lot. But to their 15, that's pretty even, to be honest. And of course, 177 men. We can deal with those losses, of course, though. All right, they are trying to consolidate here and close us in, but I think this will actually be our opportunity to completely break out. In fact, I might change the air directives here to target units. That's something I don't typically do. I like to target rail yards. I like to target munitions factories, but we're going to use it to potentially target units this turn. So let me just take a look over here. We're just going to put manpower on low. We're already targeting units over here during the day, it seems, so that's good to know. Vehicles as well, I'm simply going to put that on low. So we're just changing things very, very slightly. I'm not changing much of the attacks on the rail yards. I still want to hit the enemy where it hurts and stop them from being able to get any sort of real supply. In fact, we're going to lower interdiction here to just medium. So let's set air directives. Just luck, lads. Definitely taking some nasty hits here, and usually I can tell the difference between our losses and enemy losses will sort of determine if this was a worthwhile air mission or not. Also, after this is all done with, you're going to get a screen explaining what happened with each of these air missions. But I will say, despite, you know, us still doing okay, this is probably not a great one. Having 130 losses to the enemy's 20, even though they're mostly operational, is not the greatest. We can see over here how things went, and really the results were medium. You want to see excellent here. So you want to see excellent, 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 excellent. We're kind of B's and C's, essentially. Not great, not terrible. Kind of a 3.6 Rongen situation. Thank you, Toasted. I'll also take this time, I won't play any ads during this stream, but I will take this time to say that if you want to support the channel, in fact, I ask that you do, please join as a member for $3 a month, especially if you guys use this channel to determine game purchases. You know, please pay it back. return to sender, as it were. So if you want to join the channel, simply hit that join button. And again, $3 a month is our cheapest option. I really would appreciate it. So there we go, guys. We also, of course, get results and locations of where these bombs dropped. And of course, we're still trying to hit those rail yards pretty much all the way here, just around and actually past Paris. But most of our planes are striking right here. In fact, if we just click there, we're going to be getting information about specific bombing runs, as you can see. So we moved in with Mustangs, Thunderbolts. These are fighters. So this was likely an interdiction mission. Basically, fighters going out looking for German planes. Let's take a look over here. And this would be Lightnings and Thunderbolts air interdiction, once again, trying to knock down German planes. Pretty nice. All right, folks. So here we go. So, of course, the goal is to try and break through, encircle the Germans completely. You guys know the deal. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and get rid of these paratrooper units. There we go. Of course, pretty decent fight there. We can see the battle results. And am I the only one? Like, I love games, or any strategy game, really, where you can see the detail of the battles, like how many killed, how many wounded. I just think that's an awesome bit of detail. Also, of course, how many were captured. Although right now, absolutely none captured at all. Let's continue there, and we want to try and grab that point. And again, we want to continue this aggressiveness. So I'm going to grab these guys, and once again, attack all together. You know, we're attacking with these massive attacks, but as long as the enemy is weaker here and we can overrun them, it's absolutely worth it. In fact, I'm going to keep sending units through, just trying to continue exploiting those zones. I'm not even bringing in reinforcements at the moment. I'm just going to try to break through with the guys that we've got currently. So let's attack, and look at that. Actually forcing the SS Panzer Division to rout. I'm actually going to pause here because we need to look at those numbers. So, of course, coming up on an elite force like the SS, we didn't attack without losses. Out of 630 armored vehicles and tanks, we lost 79 and 883 men. Now, of course, they came out a lot worse with 2,266 men killed, but they lost 60 tanks. And really, of course, if they're able to trade men for armor, they're going to do that to try and slow us down. Really, the whole goal here of the German player is just to slow you down as much as they can. I don't think they can ever really stop you, although it is possible, but slowing you down they can absolutely do. So let's push through. Again, same deal over here. We're using the infantry mostly. We do have one tank division in this attack, but we're using the infantry mostly to get through. And once again, they are retreating very quickly. If we could get a tank through, though, and actually cut them off, that would be to our benefit. If you guys look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the Axis and the Allied victory points. And really, to win this one, we're going to have to take a lot of prisoners. I mean it. I mean a lot of prisoners. Here we go once again. This time we are bringing the tanks in for this attack. And they did manage to hold. Tough break, man. All right, let's see. In fact, I'm going to throw the join button in here. Like, I hate to ask, but I have no choice. So yeah, if anybody's interested in membership, this is the link. Okay. Get that tank through there. You see that weak tank right there? Let's try and route it. Actually, before we try to route that... It's a little stronger than expected, actually. Not bad. So now, once again, we can try to exploit the situation, grab one of our armored units back here, and get on through. Look at that. Unfortunately, it's not going to move as far as I wanted it to, but things rarely do, of course. And wonderful, managing to get another Panzer Division to fall back there with a loss of only 13 tanks. So they're really trying to avoid tank losses and pretty much running once those start to take serious damage. Right, on through Avanchet. And of course, we're going to hit that paratrooper unit right there. I'm going to try to hit them with these guys first, because they're already pretty weak. And there we go. The Avranches Depot has been captured, and for all intents and purposes, we have taken the city. Now, what am I going to try to do here with this unit? I'm going to try to capture them. So I'm actually moving my tanks through, but I don't want them leaving here. We want to go through here and capture all of those units. And as you can see, we've got them selected. The 346th Infantry Division, 77th Infantry Division, and the 2nd and the 5th Fallschirmjäger Divisions. So if we can take this area, you can imagine the amount of prisoners we're going to get. And that is a goal right now. So what we're going to do, just keep those units there. Keep on striking where we can here. In fact, we might be able to move straight to Mortain from our current position. I'm going to take a tank just to start grabbing that territory. And if possible, we still want to break through a few units. In fact, try to attack right here. With just the 4th U.S. Infantry Division, virtually every infantry division that you see here is a legendary one, or at least very well known. I'm going to use the existing points with this tank to try and hit that infantry division. But it looks like the 711th actually managed to hold on pretty well. And they have some very strong SS divisions right there and right there that I'd prefer not to tackle unless they're a bit weaker. Let me just see. Like, for instance, if we got enough units here, we'd actually have enough to deal with that SS division, but this is really pushing it. Nonetheless, we'll go for it. I mean, we're here to push the enemy's buttons anyway. So as you can see there, we did manage to break through, but, well, we did manage to win, kind of, sort of. But they didn't lose many, and neither did we. It's really no skin off our teeth and no skin off their teeth. Okay. So again, just looking for those weak spots. There's not always going to be weak spots. Now, when there are, you need to try to exploit them. So for instance, right here, an enemy HQ, of course we're going to attack. That's, of course, going to make the enemy HQ flee in terror. They're not going to be getting supplies to their units next turn, or at least not this turn. And it's just going to cause sort of general panic. So that's what we want to do. In fact, if we could bring more tanks over here, I certainly would. Right now, all we can do is really plug the gaps. And you can see that one of our units is starting to get kind of out of range of the HQ. So let's have that HQ head over here to the city of Coutances and just relax. Just have a nice time, get some vacation, get some R&R. And of course, then he will be in range of our units. And I am going to go for it one more time against this SS tank unit. We did force them to retreat, but unfortunately no route. And I wasn't really expecting one. But at least we can see that the SS is kind of a paper tiger in this particular fight. We managed to really hurt them. And I think we're almost about to break through. Again, the enemy are likely going to reform around us here, but this is our opportunity to get one of our tanks through here or get one of our tanks through here towards Paris and really just cut off the German army entirely. We get a lot of those victory points just by cutting the enemy off. Also, I cannot forget, I remember we have... where are they? Some actual paradropped units. Target. Nice. So we've already set up the U.S. Amphibious HQ transport. Essentially, what's going to happen is next turn, we'll be able to move out, I believe, with this particular unit. Let's see, Portable Airborne Brigade Corps, nice. And let's do the same thing over here. We can actually drop these guys. We're going to send some Sky Trains, C-47 Sky Trains, to drop off our airborne troops. Let's launch them. Now, another thing we can do, take these units, and we are going to, of course, bring them to the nearest port of call, which we might have to wait a bit. Nope, there we go. We've got one port of call, although, as you can see, it only has 17 points. Likely, we are not going to have enough points to get these guys off the ships. We can try, though. Yeah, not enough port capacity. So we'll likely have to wait and go to a somewhat better port, given some time. And that's probably going to be Carentan. So you know, one beautiful thing about this game is you have to wait a realistic amount of time for your engineers to even like build upon something that's already been attacked. You guys know what I mean? You know, if you attack like a city, or if you attack a country, right? Let's say the next day, right? You've advanced 20 miles into the country. You can't just expect to be getting supplies like immediately. That's not how it works, right? Obviously, you've got to set up logistics routes. You've got to set up supply routes. The trains have to be converted to even bring supplies to you. This is why in certain current conflicts around the world, some armies are having issues with supply and things like that. It's extremely important. So this game really does a really good job of showing you how that works, of course. And of course, we have all of these supplies coming in to help the men. But if that area is not open, well then, you know, we're not gonna have any luck. And in the case of the ports, it takes some time to get those ports ready to essentially accept any additional troops. So once again, we're going to go here to Portsmouth, try the exact same thing, really try to get this tank out here. But as you can see, we don't have a proper port to go to. Let's drop right here and see if this is good enough. Get some Canadian armor divisions. And unfortunately here, we're just waiting for strategic points. So we'll have to wait a little bit. Nice. I did one more attack over here. And it looks like we actually managed to take Argentan. Yeah, we took the city. We captured the flak battery here. I'm sure they'll retake it next turn, but it was just funny to actually see that we could get them to retreat one more time. Pretty amazing. I'm going to try over here against the Fallschirmjägers. Well, I think they're probably going to hold on for dear life. All right, let's see. Not a bad start, although next turn is where we really need to break out here. So I'm just making sure we're not missing any troops. All right, folks. Let's see what the enemy does. You can also use the super chat button, guys, even if you want to throw $1 my way or whatever. It really does help. Assuming you don't want to do memberships, we do have a super chat button. So they are pushing on that eastern side. In fact, that first battle, over 1,000 lost on both sides. But look at what the Germans did. So did you see that, guys? Trying to avoid an encirclement. This is the right call. They retreated. I mean, the AI in this game is so fantastic. It really is. And you can see there, they saw this was not a winning fight. All that was going to happen is we're going to cut them off with our tanks. Just amazing how they would fall back there. I think it's really well done. Now, if we take a look at the actual casualties, they are more or less as they should be. Of course, we got 135,000 losses. Only about 7,500 of those are kills. Whereas on the German side, they've got 164,000 losses, and almost 30,000 of them are kills. So as you can imagine, the Germans are having a rough time of it. You also have an entire report on all of the enemy vehicles destroyed, or all of our own vehicles destroyed. So you could see we've lost 125 Shermans during this fight, or M4A1 Shermans, excuse me. Whereas the enemy has lost like 94 rifle sections, 65, or sorry, no, these are ours. Let's go up here. The enemy has lost 109 Stug 3s. They've lost 123 Panzer IVs. So you can see these are pretty significant losses for the enemy side. Now, things are changing in this fight, and of course, rail yards don't seem nearly as good in terms of being opportune targets. So we're going to fall back here. We're going to get rid, or actually, we'll just put rail yard on low priority for our night attacks. And what I'm going to do is put the oil to medium. So we want to try and target enemy oil and enemy fuel. And why is that? Well, of course, the enemy is starting to fall back. They're doing a lot of different maneuvers around the city of Paris. And I want to try and damage, any chance at them refueling. So I am going to try to hit those locations. Let me also go over here. I'm going to get rid of that railway focus and get rid of interdiction. In fact, we'll just put railway focus on low for now. Give these guys a bit of a break. And over here, same thing with the rail yard. We can set that to low. And for our strategic day raids, Typically, I would not target manpower. But in this situation, I am going to target enemy vehicles, tanks, etc. to help our boys on the ground. I'm also going to lower the ground attack focus here for railway, just too low. Really keep things simple. And the same over here. Let's actually put the focus for interdiction to none. And for rail yards to none. All right? So keeping things fairly simple and really reducing the amount of planes in the sky for these upcoming attacks. You know, everything in this game is a determinant on how your mission turns out. So if you lose like a bunch of planes for no reason, that's going to affect your victory points. Here we go. Execute. Happy flying, boys. And you can see there it's being reflected in the lower right-hand corner. Much safer flights. We didn't take things that were as risky for this mission, so we're not going to get up to the 100, 200 in terms of losses. It's unlikely. Let's put it that way. How you doing, Kenobi? I think Kenobi is asking, how is this different from other John Tiller games? Excuse me, other Gary Grigsby games. R.I.P. John Tiller. And I would say this, there is a huge focus on the air game here. And if we look there, we have much better results, by the way, in terms of our bombs, guys. So a lot of highs and some mediums. You want these all to be excellent, but this is not too bad at all. But basically, there is a huge air focus on this one that I would say is not in War in the East 2. If anybody's like new to this series, I actually wouldn't recommend War in the West. It's not that I don't think it's a good game. I think it's probably one of the best ones, if not the best one. But this is a little more complex. Like I was losing entire air fleets in air combat in this game before I read the tutorial. So that's one thing. Definitely read the tutorial or at least watch some gameplay videos. But the air war in this is much more important. You need to know a bunch of things like how to unload troops, how to bring in paratroopers that you don't necessarily need to know in War in the East. So I would just say it's a little more complex. And also there's a lot of, like a lot more scenarios in terms of different locations around Europe. You've got multiple locations. You've got Italy, you've got France. Whereas in the East, of course, well, you've just got pretty much the Eastern Front. I still love War in the East, by the way. I really do. So a pretty good start there. We're just going to jump back to the attack. And again, guys, our goal was to encircle them. Obviously, that's not happening right now. But what we can do is at least start moving towards Rennes. And I also want to take these guys prisoner. In fact, I should have kept that unit there because I want to do an attack. So let's just grab all of them. And there we go. They actually routed, which amazes me. They may have been able to get across the water here in, like, patrol boats. But they got away, so that is surprising. And at this point, of course, we are trying to maximize our grabs. It's not all about Paris. Even though Paris is very important, we need to get enough victory points to beat the enemy. And sometimes that requires just taking everything or taking as many towns as you can. So one thing I will try to do, I'd love to take this SS prisoner, both of these SS prisoners, SS units prisoner. Whether or not that's going to be possible, time will tell. But we're going to close them off for now. We're also going to be liberating these cities along the way. So we just liberated Flers. And I'm going to try to send these units through. I don't think we're going to have enough movement points to get behind them. Let's do something like... Trying to get to Alençon. Oh, we are so close. We are so close. All we need is one tank division. Oh, boy. Look at that. Look at that, guys. And there we go. They routed, unfortunately. So what we should do is wait. Not even attack, just wait for them to start running out of fuel, things like that. So we're going to wait on this unit here. I'm also going to try and encircle them, too. So, for instance, we want to try and get over there. Yeah, we're just gonna have to try and break through. They're fairly strong over there. Just gonna get my infantry through here so that they can do the attack. And really, I'm targeting just any weak units there. So we have a chance here to cut off the enemy at Les Eaux. Maybe we'll hold right there. I actually want to see if if these guys can get off their ships. There we go. Nice. Look at that, guys. Unfortunately, not enough movement points to get past the enemy here and really trap them, but it's a good start. We'll also get these guys off the ships and start moving them inland. And really now, it's all about positioning. We want to make sure to position these guys in such a way that our next target is going to be Paris. We don't want to go too far south, even though, of course, that is going to be a goal too. Really, I want to make our momentum head this way. So I might do a few different moves here just to make sure that happens. Any chance I get to harass the enemy, for instance, here, might be a little bit risky, but it looks like to me we can cut off quite a few rail yards. Rail yards, really? And let's get around René here. I think René we should be able to take without issue. Nice! Easy steal of René. Enemy lost 480. They want nothing to do with it, and they're getting the hell out of there. Beautiful. I'm also going to send some units towards Malo. And somebody was discussing like how difficult it is to keep the generals in range. In this battle, that's certainly the case because we need to keep our momentum towards Paris, but we also need to send some units over here to take this location, and at some point they're going to be out of range. There's very little we can do about it. However, what we can do is take this 2nd U.S. Armor Division and continue cutting the enemy off from the south. Take Angers Depot as well and force those SS to continue running. And let's grab this tank and immediately cut off whatever we can. We can, of course, take the area at Vannes, but we can actually cut off northwestern Normandy from the rest of France here. So pretty much just isolate them. They're not going to be getting any sort of support. And partially because, look, I mean, this is the commencement of Operation Overlord. We've got plenty of ships off the coast here ready to fight. So the enemy's not going to get away with just easy attacks. It's not going to happen. Again, we need to continue consolidating this area. So let's take some guys over here and cut them off. As you can see, we're just sending our tanks in all different directions, guys, cutting off as much of the rail line as we can from the enemy. This really makes it almost impossible for them to get any supply. Now, I'm not going to attack that unit this turn. It's in the plans, but just can't do it this turn. All right, we're going to get this general a little bit closer to his men. And you can see we're starting to get out of range a bit. That's okay, though. Send our infantry to Alençon. I'm thinking the 8th U.S. Infantry Division is going to be our spearhead. And that's that unit, this unit right here. So this is going to be like the tip of our spear. And what I'm trying to do is kind of cut this way, cut that swath, and then we can just take all of Paris. Like a big piece of pie. All right, once again, get this guy over towards Avranches so that our guys are getting resupplied. Same with this guy, send him to Mortain. The amount of actual information for each of these units is so good in this game. I mean, you can see here, I'm just looking at the 7th U.S. Corps, and it's led by Joseph L. Collins. So we've got, like, actually, Joseph L. Collins kind of looks like Joe Biden. I'm not even kidding. Just look at that. So, you know, just a very interesting amount of information for each and every unit. It's really well represented in this game, including its corps commander, etc. Just amazing. All right. Is he ready to get off? No, not enough remaining port capacity. I was worried about that. We might be able to set him into this port, but not this turn. Here's what we can do. Hold on. We'll do this. He should be able to get in there. Yep. All right, I'd love to bring on this U.S. Infantry Division, so we're going to bring them down here too. But as you can see, his HQ is all the way up there. It's actually the main HQ for the entire theater, I believe. Get those Americans off. Next turn, maybe we can move them. For now, they can stay put here. I might just go ahead and engage that unit. We'll wait. We want to try to take prisoners, so we'll wait. But look at that. So just, I would say second week of the invasion. But it looks like Brittany is going to be entirely cut off here. We should be able to capture it little by little. And then, of course, we have the push east towards Paris. Now, this entire campaign is 11 turns long, I believe. So you don't get too much time, you know, at least for this game, to retake those areas. It's really quite tough. Thanks for showing up, guys. Make sure to hit that like button. Also, please remember that we have the Super Chat and the membership possibilities here on the channel. I'd ask that you guys please use those. All right. I think we'll end the turn there. Oh, you know what? Looks like 1st U.S. Infantry Division is going to be the tip of the spear. And actually, that works out the way it's supposed to. Let's take a look there. So very little... Nope, there we go. Big Red 1. That's what I'm talking about. I was going to say very little info, but no, they do have some info, which is good to see. And let's send 30th over here to assist in capturing the rest of Planet. Once again, I want to keep those HQs as close as I can. We also haven't been intercepted by any enemy ships, so that's huge. Not enough remaining port capacity. That's okay. We can wait for this one. We're pretty much getting along just fine. Here we go. Nice. Everybody's in range. Portuguese nightlife simulator. I like how he calls it Portuguese nightlife simulator. Yeah. The problem is, you think that... I want to be careful what I say here. You think that Portugal is like a laid-back liberal country. It's not. It's extremely conservative. So while there is nightlife, it's not what you're thinking. Yeah, I can't wait to be out of here, to be perfectly honest with you. And in fact, hopefully that's going to happen pretty soon. All right, here we go, folks. End the turn. And let's see what the Germans do in response. It would be pretty crazy for them to launch a counterattack. Can't say I haven't seen it, but they would need a good reason to do so. They might actually fall behind Paris and set up a 3rd defensive line. That's actually the most common thing they would do in a situation like this, because they are at risk of being completely encircled. Look at that. SS Division is trying to fight his way out. No chance. They are going to have to surrender, and that's 34,000 men. In terms of victory points, let's just say that that's quite substantial. It really is. Okay, once again, look at those losses. The enemy losses are really starting to stack up, and actually 5,573 captured. I can't tell you guys how much captures help in this game. Now, the only thing I'm going to change, because remember, last air phase, we kept it really safe here. And while that's great, we've got to be just a little more aggressive. I'm going back after those rail yards, so let's put that up to medium. And I'm going to do something very dangerous here. We're going to put railways, I should say, up to high. This is the first thing we've actually put a high priority, and this means they're going to put everything into hitting those rail yards, which likely will result in the loss of quite a lot of air units. So to offset that, I'm going to get rid of focuses on vehicles entirely. I'm going to get rid of focuses on manpower entirely. I'm going to keep that focus on oil and fuel, but I'll get rid of the focus on vehicles. And over here, night attacks, we're going to do rail yards as well, but I'm not going to put it on high priority, just medium. But without a shadow of a doubt, this is going to be called and I am so bad with original names. Operation Bust the Rails. How about that? This is Operation Bust the Rails, simply an air operation where we want to knock out the rail yards leading to Paris, or really leading to any of the front lines here. So I'm going to set those air directives. You know what I am going to change? I'm going to put oil on medium priority too. Set those air directives. We're probably going to lose quite a lot of planes this turn, I would guess. Let's execute. So this is base game picks. I think the only DLC for this one is Operation Torch. We do have it, so if you guys enjoy these War in the West videos, make sure to actually drop a comment below the video. Hit that like button, do whatever you can, and we will play this in the future as well. So actually that didn't go as poorly as I thought it would. We're not up to 100 losses. For this theater, 120 is like catastrophic losses. For the main theater, anything over like 300 is catastrophic. So look at that. That's what we're looking for, guys. Look at that. Excellent, excellent, excellent in terms of weather. It's just looking great. Now, our intensity is what we really want to look at. High and medium, we'll take it. It would be better if they were all excellence, but we'll take it. We also did a few naval patrols, because the thing is, here in France, you know, obviously a large part of the country, it does have a coastline, and all of these ports can still bring in supplies. So even if you cut off all the rail yards behind the enemy lines, they're going to have a lot of supplies stored at places like Le Havre, a lot of supplies stored over here in places like Etaples. So we want to be very careful. Now, we've got tanks like this. The goal here, guys, is to cut off existing units with these tanks. As you can see, what did I tell you guys? They're going to form another defensive line behind Paris, and that's exactly what they've done. So I want to grab the stragglers. And how do I do that? Well, we'll grab one of these tanks, grab this one, as a matter of fact, and we're just going to start cutting them off. We're liberating a bunch of towns as this happens, which leads to those World War II photos you see of like Americans walking through French towns and the people coming out all happy. That's exactly what we're doing right here. I want to get all the way to Blois. And if we get to Blois, look at this, guys. Just look. They are cut off. Like, these guys can't go anywhere. They can fall back, but they're not going to be getting any supplies. They're not going to be getting any ammunition, any food, any replacements. Like, they're cut off from the world. There is one rail yard here, which can kind of go around like this and come through the center here to Le Mans. But I think we're just going to capture Le Mans within a couple turns. In fact, look at this. Look at this. We can cut them off completely. We've got these guys trapped. And, of course, this is going to lead to a pretty dramatic capture. Could be 50,000 men, 60,000, etc. Could be 100,000. But the goal here is to just maximize that steel. Look at that. And we could go even farther over here and grab additional territory, or we could simply consolidate this capture, and I think that's what we're going to do, and simply send that tank right there. I don't want this guy threatening us, so I'm actually going to send our infantry right there to capture Sabil. Send this guy in too, and just get rid of any enemies over here around this capture point. Now, one issue could be getting a unit for that location. Oh, nice. We're good. Let's see if we can deal with this SS unit. I really just want to see if we can take him prisoner. And look at that, guys. That is a work of art right there. I'm just going to pause. 30,000 enemies captured. Hey, Ike. How you doing, bud? You know what, Ike? I'm going to ask you, man, a favor, because Ike brought up the memberships yesterday, and I'm just so bad at asking you guys. We, rarely get people to actually join during these streams. So Ike, if you want to be our official mascot man, and, obviously don't bombard people, but every like 10 or 20 minutes, if you could say, hey, you guys, Agrippa has a membership, check it out. I'd really appreciate it, man. But look at that. I mean, that is what you're looking for. 30,000 prisoners. We've taken all their tanks, taken all their guns. They're done. So again, you don't just want to attack. You don't just want to encircle and attack immediately. Let them run out of supplies first. Let them sit there and think about the mistakes they made. So now I'm also going for the SS Panzer Division here. If we could take them, that would be huge. But for now, I'm focused on the Germans in this sector. There we go. And we can't lose sight of the main goal, of course, which is going to be Paris. Start moving that way. Let's take Chartres, excuse me. Just makes it easier for the rest of our units and sort of forces the enemy, instead of having them go directly to the front line and face our men, they've got to retake those areas. And also, all of these guys you see that are trapped, they're going to try to break out next turn. The enemy always has, like, sort of one last attempt to avoid encirclement. And certainly that's going to happen here. We need to start also getting some troops over here at the border with Le Havre. So let's just send the rest of these guys right there. Start really expanding this front line, or this potential front line. Now here we're definitely going to need to redraw our HQs, just because there's been so much movement this turn. Yeah, official advertiser Ike. Nice. Yeah, you arrived at the right time. And of course, if you guys ever miss anything with these streams, you can always just, reload them a little bit later. This one in particular, I mean, War in the West in particular, or any Gary Grigsby game, I would say is a great stream to rewatch. I wouldn't say all streams are worth rewatching. Like, for RTS games, I think that a stream, like, it's really best in the moment, right? But any of these War in the West games are perfect. And look at that, we just took 800 security guards captive. And I want to be clear, like, everybody sees German security regiments and they're like, oh my goodness, these must be SS. Well, through a little bit of research and really because of you guys, what that actually is like basically the equivalent of American military police. So that's what that would be, MPs. They're not the strongest troops. They're not really made for combat. Let's attack Malo here. And we've taken Malo. Look at that. We also took the Malo garrison, about 4,000 men. But again, they are basically security guards, nothing special, or at a minimum border guard units. And let's take a look there at the VPs. The Axis still have slightly more VPs than we do, but things are going damn well for us. Absolutely damn well for us. All right, Saint-Brieuc. And one of the reasons this is such a walkover, because typically, in fact, over here is a good example. The enemy does have some very strong para units here that they've brought in from mainland Germany over to France, flew them over. But since these guys are cut off, let me see, right here, see, they're not even getting any supply. So it's only a matter of time before we break through and finish them off here. However, I still want to try to maximize those steals. So I'm going to send this tank through and just continue to try to cut the enemy off to make those captures even easier. Right, he's looking okay. He's got to move up a bit. Now, like I warned you guys in the beginning of this particular campaign, some units are going to be out of supply simply because we cannot keep all of these guys all in supply at once. Almost impossible. Let's see. Let's see. Yep, as you can see. We're going to put them in Alençon. Alençon will be our main attack city here. But the goal is to sort of get all these guys over here, right on the border of Paris. Well, we've got plenty of time. We're only on turn 4. We've got till turn 11. So we really do have plenty of time to make this work out. Right now, we just want to, of course, build that front line, get it nice and comfy for the men. And if possible, we will bring in reinforcements from our mainland over here in the UK. let's see. Very realistic World War II sounds, right, guys? The din, 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 din. Okay, I want to get that HQ close as well. Unfortunately, wait a minute. Wow, really, Bullet? Bullet, really? That's what you have to say about the situation, huh, Bull? Okay. Got to get this guy separate from the... There we go. And let's try and get that guy in range 2. Beautiful. So we're going to keep these guys kind of here. Hopefully, we can capture them next turn. Their only chance is to break out. They've got one chance to break out, and that's going to be this turn. Now let's grab these 3 units, and we are going to transport them guys over here to the closest port. It's going to take a little longer to get them out here, but so far we have not been attacked by enemy subs or anything like that, which is really shocking to me. Usually on these invasions, you do get attacked by enemy subs. I think the reason we haven't is we haven't kept these transports consistent. We've kind of just thrown them out there whenever I had to talk, and now we just got hit. We lost 1,000 men right there. But yeah, like once the enemy notices that you're moving out of port, that's when they start actually hitting you with subs. Oh yeah, no, we've done really well. You're absolutely right, Ike. You know what I did, man? After that first time streaming this game, I went and read the tutorial. And really, the air phase in this game is so important. So important. Hey, Larry, how you doing? Good to see you, man. And let's see. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait a bit. Oh, wait. Oh, what's going on? Oh, I see. We're just off the coast. My bad. Bring them in. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait. Not enough port capacity. And like I mentioned, that's one really great part of this game. It's going to be realistic in terms of the port capacity. We just invaded France. It's going to take a while to actually increase port capacity here. We got to bring in engineers to fix things. You know, it's not like we're going to walk into a port that's in perfect condition. The Germans aren't going to allow that. They're going to completely destroy it. So by the time we get there, there's no way to unload anything. You know, there's going to be ships in the bay. There's going to be twisted metal all over the place to make sure that we can't park any vehicles. And so it takes time to actually increase that capacity to a reasonable level. Actually, this HQ we can send westwards. The only one we can send westwards. Let's see who's in command of it. Charles Corlett. I love that. It's like a tomahawk emblem. Very cool. All right. A rough-looking fella. I mean, Mr. General Corlett here. He is not a guy you'd want to meet in an alleyway. He would absolutely break your jaw, no issue. All right, let's take a look over here. Yeah, not much we have to do. We don't have any more air units to move or anything like that. However, we do have this tank unit, so... You know what? We can close the gap with the SS unit right here. Look at that. Fantastic. And now they have no choice. They have got to respond. They've got to try to break out at a minimum. Let's go. So what they're also going to be doing, the Germans are going to be sending in supplies by plane. But you can imagine in situations like this how difficult it is. And actually, let me pause. How difficult it is to send in supplies by plane when we are completely surrounding the enemy unit. There's a chance that we'll get their supplies, and it's not uncommon. It's actually quite common for the supplies to drop straight to us. But of course, if you see a parachute falling from the sky, I wouldn't recommend running towards it. It could be a bomb, just to keep that in mind. In this particular case, though, look at this. They're trying to break out. They can't do it. And these are just like probing attempts. You can see the losses is like 47 men, 22 men, 3 or 4 or 5 tanks. Nothing serious, nothing special. Over here, they just lost 177 men for no reason. And look at that. Look at that fallback. Pretty substantial. They're all just waiting behind Paris in that second line, because the way it works is once you take Paris, you think, hey, I've liberated all of France. Everything's going to go great from here. But no, that's really not the point of this mission. In fact, the point is to capture the essentially the defensive wall on the way to Germany. So you want to get past Paris and keep pushing as much as possible. And look at those casualties. 56,000 captured Germans, and I can promise you that number is going to grow this turn. As for our actual air focus, we're going to calm things down substantially. We need to allow our planes to rest and recuperate a bit. So I'm just going to actually lower the railway attacks, even lowering the oil attacks here to low. And let's just keep things very simple. I don't want these guys to get killed anymore. We can actually stop going after oil. I'd actually rather switch this to heavy industry. So we will have one medium focus, and that's going to be essentially bombing German factories. Let's set those air directives. Now, I would recommend if anybody, like I've watched enough videos to kind of know what I'm doing here. Number one, for each mission or each campaign, your air directives have got to be different, like depending on the situation you're dealing with. So like if it's 1943, right, the enemy still has plenty of flak. The Luftwaffe is still completely airworthy. And you're going to lose a lot more planes if you take risks. Here with the invasion of France, of course, they're also dealing with the invasion of Italy. So they've got their planes all over the place, and that makes it a little bit easier to fly these missions without getting killed. Let's execute. And really what you want is you basically want the enemy to have at least half of your casualties. You can see that in the lower right-hand corner. And most of those enemy losses are due to air combat. So, of course, we're interdicting them, or our units are flying out, I should say, our interception units, fighters, things like that, and simply defending our bombers from enemy fighter attacks. So 107 to 51, it is a lot of losses for us, but the enemy took half. I'll take it. Not that big a deal. Over here, of course, you have an indicator of the weather. Since the beginning of this particular campaign, we got really lucky. The weather has been excellent. I played this before. We're on day 2. You get a nasty rainstorm, and that completely changes everything. Also, our intensity was pretty significant here. High intensity strikes, of course. Like over here as an example, look at that railway interdiction with Thunderbolts, 72 Thunderbolts. Just imagine coming in. These are, of course, tank destroyers, right? You've got these little, like, missiles on them that you fire off at tanks, and they will completely destroy them. However, they can also destroy infrastructure and rail equipment. So just imagine coming in with a Thunderbolt. You've got your missiles ready to fire. You see that nice, beautiful rail line. Fire at it. Boom. It's done. Now the Germans have to spend time fixing it. And you can imagine that takes forever. So since we've got these guys trapped here, I say we go for the captures. Let's do it. We're going to take our infantry. All right. They're going to retreat, and we are going to follow them, of course, with our infantry units. I'm not attacking with the tanks because I want the tanks to have the opportunity to move this turn again. Here we go. And look at that. We already got some surrendered. Over 9,000. Over 9,000 surrendered. Let's keep on doing it. And we're going to get 16,000 surrendered right here. Look at that, guys. We also liberated the city of Le Mans. What I really want to do, though, is capture that SS tank unit. And there we go. 16,000 SS units captured. Actually, about 1,000 of them never showed up. Gee, I wonder what happened to them. It may be that our forces took out their frustrations on them. But we're going to keep cutting through, cutting off additional units. And this sort of approach, just look at the victory points. We were at 580, I think, at the beginning. We're at 801, and that's entirely due to captures. Captures in this game are extraordinarily important. Anyway, I just wanted you guys to see the captures there. If you want to see the rest of the invasion of France, I'm definitely going to do it on a future stream. All of these War in the West stream, or all of these War in the West videos, we are keeping exclusive to live streams to try and get you guys to donate, super chat, etc. Hopefully one day it's going to pay off. So I'm going to keep on doing it for now. Again, if you enjoy War in the West and you want to see more, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It helps hugely. Now, I absolutely want to save this. Let's start moving towards Evreux. We're going to just get on this side of the Seine, of course, probably this turn. Just get all of our forces on this side of the Seine. Next turn, turn 6, is when we steamroll east. And actually, most of the enemy strength is over here in the north. But what we're going to do now, simply save this baby. Glorious subscribers. And there we go, my friends. I hope you guys had fun with me today in War in the West. I think we did an exceptional job, especially compared to our first attempt here. We've got a bunch of France, of course, and I believe the liberation of Paris will be easy, or at least not as difficult as you'd expect. We have captured so many enemies here. I absolutely love it. In fact, let me take a look. So we're almost up to 100,000 captured Germans. Obviously, with results like that, victory is on the way. All right, folks. Thank you. Thank you, Ike, Larry, Pixel, Toasted, everybody who stopped by. I really do appreciate it. Salty Dodger and Matt. Again, if you guys enjoy War in the West and you want to see it uploaded more regularly, I'd ask that you please like and also make sure to just comment on the video once it uploads. Always, if you can, share my channel with friends. Let's try to at least get more subscribers in here. And, if you can, become a member. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. I'll catch you on the next one. Vive la France!